Very good morning, everybody. Morena, and welcome to the second part of our inaugural council meeting, the new triennium, which commenced last night. First, I'd just like to thank on behalf of our governance team, the staff who made the ceremony last night happen. Thanks to Rupu Waiata for making the ceremony special. Thanks for the dinner and the cuppa afterwards. Certainly, family and friends seem to really enjoy the occasion. So I just ask elected members to thank the team. So I won't call for apologies because we're all here. It's a good start. Any declarations of interest? No notifications of late items or recommendations from committees. So we move to officer reports, 8.1, the appointment of Deputy Mayor. And we have a report from the General Manager, People and Corporate.
So, yes, thank you. So the appointment of the Deputy Mayor is one of the powers that the Mayor has. So it's not a council decision, it's just a mayoral appointment. And so as per the recommendations in the report on page 6, this is really for council to note and for us to record in resolution that the Mayor has appointed Councillor Hatfield as the Deputy Mayor. There is a process around overturning that if there's a majority wish to do so, but I won't go into that unless that becomes the topic of conversation. Aside from that, happy to answer any questions.
I'd like to make a few comments around the appointment. As I've previously advised, I'm going to use the power under Section 41 of the Local Government Act 2002 to appoint the Deputy Mayor, and I'm acutely aware that the Council can remove the Deputy Mayor position. And in fact, there was a reasonable prospect of this happening 9 years ago to the day to me, with 4 prepared speeches about how unsuitable I was to be Deputy Mayor. It didn't actually happen, but it did at our neighbouring council, Horowhenua. So it's definitely a right of council to do so. So my comment is that there are a number of councillors very capable of being Deputy Mayor, and any number of theories about appointing a Deputy Mayor strategically. I'm appointing Councillor Grant Hatfield for a number of reasons. I know that we can work well together. We've done so for 6 years. Grant is hardworking, does his research and takes the job seriously. And I trust Grant to have my back, to be supportive, and I have full confidence in his ability to deputise for me when I'm not available. We're not like members of the same political party in Parliament, and so don't have to agree on everything, because the party whip tells us to. Grant and I do have different opinions on some things, and our current system allows for that. We will, however, discuss our differences in advance on a no-surprise basis. Importantly for me, we deal with a lot of important issues on behalf of our community and some big budgets. It's a serious business, but we can still deal with serious business and have a bit of fun and enjoyment while doing so. Grant and I enjoy some banter, and I have every hope and expectation that that continues. We should take the business, but not ourselves, too seriously. I always believe that if you can't laugh at yourself, you can guarantee that others are laughing at you. Grant and I will take a similar approach regarding additional meetings that Mayor Helen and I took to keep focused on improving this wonderful district that we call home. Now, Ash, am I to move the recommendation, or is that to be just noted?
We do need to move it, yep.
But I do then. I move 1, that the Council notes that under Section 41A of the Local Government Act 2002, the Mayor has the power to appoint the Deputy Mayor and has chosen to exercise this power. 2, that the Council notes that the Mayor has appointed Councillor Grant Hatfield as Deputy Mayor. Councillor Short has seconded that. Any discussion? Councillor Quarry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd endorse those comments that you referred to Councillor Hatfield as. Having worked alongside him for the last 6 years, I fully endorse those points that you made. He is very hardworking, researches his material very well, and offers judgment in his full confidence. So I fully endorse that.
Thank you, Councillor Quarry. Anyone else? We'll put the motion. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. To the contrary, motion is carried, and thank you very much, team. Right, we'll move to item 8.2, the establishment of committees and chairs. And Francis, General Manager, People and Corporate, and Ash.
So this is very similar to the appointment of the Deputy Mayor, in that this is a appointment that the Mayor can make under the Local Government Act. So this is both to establish the committees and appoint the chairpersons. The only correction to the report is to please ignore the District Licensing Committee. That's actually prescribed by the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act. So the council doesn't need to establish that. So when we move the recommendation, we'll remove that particular line. The other 7 committees in there, as listed, the next steps after they've been appointed is that the terms of reference for those committees have been finalised. Those terms of reference basically that they are how council tells the committee what it can do and what it can't do. So it gives all of the delegations to the committee. So we'll bring that to the subsequent council meeting for adoption. You would have seen some of those at workshop last week. There were a couple missing. The water services unit, that one won't be done for a little bit later, just because we're still figuring out how that's going to look with all of the legislative change in that space. But the rest you'll see very shortly. And happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Jundal.
I note that there are 4 external people who are looking to chair the committees, which is quite a high number to start up with the council. What was the rationale about having 4 externals?
That is 3.
3? Yes.
Right.
3 if we disregard the District Licensing Committee.
Yeah. So in terms of finance performance, it's standard practice throughout New Zealand to have an external member and usually the chair of that committee. In relation to the water services unit, I have chosen Colin McFadgen for his, I guess, specialist knowledge and his expertise that I think will be of value to council. And in terms of the Creative Communities Assessment Committee, I believe we inherit the chair. Councillor Short, you might be able to just elaborate.
So Creative Communities Council administers on behalf of the government. And we appoint 2 representatives onto that committee. There's a list of parts of the community need to be represented. And it's recommended for Creative Communities that the chairperson be an external person nationally. So that comes from, that's the instruction from government.
Thank you, Councillor Short. Anyone else?
Just further on the Mayor's point about the Finance Performance Committee, it's actually a recommendation from the Office of the Auditor General that the chair of the committee be. So that's in the OAG guidelines now, and it's pretty much practice across the Finance Committee chair.
Councillor Jundal.
Any additional cost implications in terms of appointing external people that we should know about?
Not in terms of the councillor's remuneration pool. So independents don't draw any salary or any financing from the remuneration pool. They are sitting under a separate budget in council where they get paid a rate out of that, and it's an hourly rate. So they get paid for what they do. They don't get a salary or they don't get the sum of money they get, hourly rate as to how many times they meet and how much work they do really. And that comes out of our governance budget, so no impact on council or rental.
Thank you. Yep, anyone else? All right, do we have a mover for the motion? I'm happy to move. I move that the council notes the committee structure established by His Worship the Mayor as follows. The Finance and Performance Committee, Chairperson Stuart Campbell. The Chief Executive's Employment Committee, Councillor Grant Hadfield. The Hearings Committee, Councillor Alison Short. The Creative Communities Assessment Committee, Ben Caldwell. The District Development Committee, Councillor Colin Dyer. And the Water Services Unit Committee, Colin McFadden. Seconder. Councillor Quarry. Any discussion? Okay, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Contrary? Motion is carried. Once again, thank you.
I might have the bloody council morning tea if we keep going.
Right, item 8.3, the setting of the date for the first meeting of council and the remainder of 2025.
So
Actually,
this one's pretty.
kind of the S show, really, isn't it?
This one's pretty brief. So the council legislatively has to at least notify the next meeting. Our norm is to do the remainder of the year. So that's the attachment in there showing the remaining meetings of the year. The big change, of course, is that we're moving to Wednesdays. Last triennium we were on Thursdays. And as discussed last week, that's to better align with LGZ and other councils and their meetings to just try and avoid some scheduling conflicts. So what we've done in this report is highlighted the 3 remaining council meetings. So that's 19th November, 3rd of December, 17th of December. And then we will bring another report to you at the 19th of November meeting for 2026. And the reason that one will come a little bit later is because we're still finalising the committee structure. We can't do that calendar until we adopted the committees, which we've now just done. Any questions?
Right, would someone like to move that recommendation? Councillor Hadfield.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Happy to move that the council confirms that the first regular meeting of council will be held on Wednesday, the 12th of November, 2025 at 8:30 a.m. And that council notes the remaining council meetings for the year are scheduled as follows, all at 8:30 a.m. The 19th of November 2025, the 3rd of December 2025, the 17th of December 2025, and that the council notes that a report to adopt the meeting schedule for 2026 will be presented to the 19th of November council meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Hadfield. Seconded, Councillor Dyer. Any discussion? With the motion, all those in favour, please raise your hand. Contrary? Motion is carried.
Just to follow up from council workshop, there was a request for us to look at the order papers coming out on Thursday rather than Friday, due to the fact that we've shifted our councils from Thursday to Wednesday. Our team has met and we will accommodate that. So the order papers will come out on the Thursday morning, and you'll have a day extra to, well, you might have a day extra really, because you have the same amount of time. But,
By the end of Thursday.
by the end of the I'll come out on Thursday. We are hoping though, just a little bit of background, we are hoping with the establishment of the District Development Subcommittee that a lot of the material that has been going to council over the past 3 years will go through that committee. So one of the objectives is that we cut down the amount of hours that council actually has to sit, and that some of that work goes to the subcommittee. So hopefully your order papers won't be 400 or 500 pages long like they have been over the last triennium. So the whole idea of those subcommittees is to try and spread the workload more evenly than all options.
Thank you, Shane, and thank you to the ELT for your commitment to work to the Thursdays. Councillor Bell.
Sure. Thank you, team, for accommodating that. That's really massive, especially because we've got a new team. So, ngā mihi kia koutou to all the general managers and Stephen Ash. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Right, 8.4, the explanation of legislation affecting members.
So this is the last item we have to cover at the first meeting, and it's essentially in the Local Government Act, the Chief Executive is required to give you a brief explanation of some key legislation. So it's written in the report, but I am going to go through each one and just highlight some key points. So the first one is the Local Authority Members' Interests Act, 1968, and the key bit in there is around contracts. So as elected members, you are not allowed to have a contract with the council, so a company that you might own or be a director of, over $25,000 in each year. Now there's some legislation going through Parliament at the moment to increase that to 100,000. So that'll be quite a big change, but that hasn't gone through yet. There is a process for members to apply to the Office of the Auditor General for an exemption. Yeah, but if you foresee that being an issue, you definitely need to let us know because the consequences are quite bad. Otherwise, you can be prosecuted. So yeah, definitely, if you're even concerned that that might be an issue, just please let us know.
That also applies to your spouse or your partner. So if your spouse or partner is involved in a business that does business with council, that $25,000 limit also applies. So just be wary of that. That's one that's tripped up a few people in the past, not here, but in other councils, because they've immediately just themselves. So just be aware.
Thank you.
The next one is the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act. We always refer to this as the Reconvened Act. So if you hear the acronym, that's what we're talking about because it's a bit of a mouthful. So this is mostly for officers in terms of the process around meetings, legislative timeframes to get agendas out, things like that. It drives a lot of what's in our standing orders. But the key bit for members is around the access to official information. So we're going to go over this at the next workshop in a lot more detail, but the essence of it is that everything you write in your role, be it on your laptop, on your phones, even phone calls, can be legitimate, so it can be subject to an official information request. And there's plenty of incidents at other councils of that happening and some unprofessional communication coming out. So it's something that officers are super aware of as well. So that's just something to remind yourself of. I would suggest you try not to mix your personal life and your work life. So on your devices, for example, try and keep your council business to your council device. And that's just a way of you protecting yourself and stopping your personal information getting caught up in official information requests. But yeah, please do try and keep that in the back of your mind. If you feel like, having what might be an unprofessional conversation, you might just be better off having a chat over the phone. Just, yeah, bear that in mind. Any questions around that? We will go over it in more detail.
Certainly something to be very thoughtful about. Pause, stop, right, am I doing this on the right medium? Because it can trip you up. Voice of experience.
The key premise there is that the Ombudsman's been very clear in their decisions in the past that the council has an obligation to release information unless there is good reason for withholding it, and those reasons are contained within the legislation. So we scrutinise when we want a public excluded item or we want something that is a reason for not disclosing that information. It has to fit within that legislative framework. So we scrutinise those very closely because people are able to challenge us through the Ombudsman, and that's something we take very seriously. So it's not that we can't withhold, it's just that there are quite stringent tests around what we can and how we do it. legal advice is a typical example of we can apply client solicitor confidentiality to that most times. And so that fits within the legislative framework. So that's a good example. So there are a number of them, but yeah, the main premise is we have to disclose unless there's good reason. So as Ash said, if you've got information on your council tablet, that is council information and is able to be discovered or disclosed through
Any questions?
If you're interested, we do publish all of our Lagoima responses and requests on our website. So that'll give you a bit of a flavour for what they often look like. And, you know, they often are from people with a contentious perspective.
Ash, can you give us some sort of idea on numbers and perhaps the change in numbers over this?
We're seeing around 100 to 120 Lagoimas per year, so that's about 2 a week. Some are much bigger than others, so some will take staff hours and hours of going through thousands of emails, many files. Some are much quicker to respond to. It'll be a single officer and it'll be quite a straightforward response. But the numbers certainly have been increasing over the years. We do a full report to finance and performance on a quarterly basis of the Lagoima responses. Our council has achieved 100% compliance with the Act in terms of the timeframes of Lagoima in recent years, so that's pleasing.
Councillor Short.
Perhaps Francis could explain, if someone's not happy with the response they get to their Lagoima request, they can take that further.
Up to the Ombudsman, yes, and I think we've got one sitting currently with the Ombudsman. It's not unusual for councils to have requests sitting with the Ombudsman for them to respond to. But it's been a long time since the Ombudsman has found in favour of the applicant rather than council for us.
In terms of requests affecting elected members, we've still got the process of running the responses past the mayor before they go.
Yes, and there is a range of Lagoimas that we run by the mayor if it is related to the governance space outside of direct requests to elected members. So there'll be some Lagoima requests that come in and we will put a request out to you to say this has come in, please give us anything that relates to the particular subject material. It's also worth bearing in mind that of course our IT team have full access to all of the emails. So there are cases where we go straight into the system and do searches through all of the council emails and files and folders to unearth what needs to be disclosed under Lagoima.
That's all short.
Yeah. Sometimes you get people that will email all the elected members on one single question, and the correct responses we always refer to the mayor, and you might even like to contact me and make sure that they've seen the request come in rather than 12 people putting their own 2 bits worth in their own opinion, which might vary. So we'll have the mayor is the spokesperson. You can give the mayor some information to help him respond, and he may not respond immediately. It might take a bit of research, but usually within a day.
Thank you, Councillor Short. Okay, that is something that's become a part of council life, hasn't it? Really, it's quite a significant part. Even in my 9 years, I think it's ramped up significantly. So, yeah, thank you for that.
The next two, Secret Commissions Act and the Crimes Act, that's really just about bribery. So obviously bribery is bad. So, you know, the key point for us is just be mindful of when you are receiving, say, gifts, just on how that's going to look. We also have the process, as we referred last week, around conflicts of interest, pecuniary, non-pecuniary. I think predetermination was the third one, but particularly for pecuniary. We have a register. We have a process which I'll tell you about more at the start of next year, where we send you an annual return form that asks you for a whole lot of information pertaining to the last year, so that'll be 2025, for you to declare. It's a whole host of information. It's properties you own, it's trusts that you might be a benefactor of, things like that. So I'll send that form out to you then, and we'll go through that at a workshop in a lot more detail. But just be really mindful of conflicts of interest and that form, and make sure that you declare everything that you can think of. If you're not sure, just ask. We will publish a public summary of that information. We take out the private information. So, for example, we won't put your home address. We'll just say that you own a property in Fielding. That's the essence of those two. Are there any questions around those?
Is there,
Councillor Pickford.
is there a minimum, sorry, is there a minimum value for that?
No, not under the Local Government Act. For a home, you mean?
Oh, sorry, for
Chocolate fish.
fishes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I believe so.
No, excuse me, there's no minimum value, but we leave it up to your discretion. Considering the table having a free chocolate fish probably not a big gift. As such, I think internally with staff, we have a 40, 50 dollars. No.
We actually encourage staff to
Yeah.
put everything on the gift register. So you will see things that go on for $5 to $10 value. It makes for lovely reading, actually. In particular, members of the public who like to show their appreciation for the services that staff have provided. But certainly the one that sometimes trips people up is hospitality. So being invited to an event and enjoying the hospitality on the ticket of an organisation. Certainly staff must declare all of that. And I'm not sure about the process for elected members. Some of it will be just in your normal role as an elected member. But if you find yourself questioning the motives of why you've been invited to a particular event, is it appropriate for you to be there, then always ask the question, come and see what the governance team and we'll work it through.
Councillor Bell.
Yes, Bishop. I think the last triennium, the minimum value was $50. So obviously it's shifted now to any.
I think it's in your standing orders, it's $50. Yeah, under the Local Government Act, it's 500. But we go off what code of conduct, not standing orders. But we go off the code of conduct.
Okay, so I was invited to Manfield the other day, went to the hospitality box, and there was some food there and refreshments. So that should be something that I should declare.
Don't think so. That would be in the normal measure of your role. And I don't imagine that anyone was trying to coerce you to do anything untoward.
The key thing is in what capacity are you being invited? So if you're being invited as a council or a mayor, then you are representing the council. That's part of your role. But if you are invited to go to Wellington weekend as Rob, then you've got to think twice about that and say, well, am I representing council? Because if I'm not, this is a gift or an inducement and I need to declare it. So just a little bit of common sense, really.
Okay, it's important that we clarify this because it is, so Councillor Bell.
Last triennium, I suppose as I'll speak to the ladies, because when you're newly elected, you do get gifts. Last triennium, I got gifted this beautiful dress, Friday Flamingo. She was born here in Fielding. Now it's gone across the thing. So I declared that because obviously it was over the $50 value. So even just like tangible gifts that you get, toiletries, perfumes, those are all part of the things that I'm not sure we'll get any, but those are part of it. So, but I didn't declare flowers. The flowers came in. I didn't declare those. But just use your common sense, really.
Which brand of common sense, I always say, because everybody thinks they've got it, but everyone has a different view.
And if in doubt, just ask the question, particularly in the early stage.
Just because we were invited to sport Manawatū last week, would that be something that we would declare?
There was a council invitation,
Okay.
so you were going there as a
Yeah.
representative
Yeah.
of council, so no.
I'd also say light refreshments are typically not covered in this. For example, under the Electoral Act, all of our election processes, they're very hot on bribery and inducements for obvious reasons, but light refreshments are specifically excluded.
Ladaya.
Thank you, Your Worship. So it sounds to me that over declaring things wouldn't be a crime. We can always cross something out, can't we?
100%. It's way better that you ask the question prior and we can clarify that.
No, any other questions? Well, thanks for all the clarification. I think that's been useful.
The next one is the Financial Markets Conduct Act. That doesn't apply to us because we don't issue public stock, but in the legislation we have to cover it, so it's written in there for your awareness. Next one is the Local Government Act, and this section is really around your liability. So generally members aren't liable unless something unlawful has taken place, and so those examples of those are listed in section 3.24 of the report. Yeah, but generally you're not liable for financial loss.
Questions on that point? Okay.
The next section is the pecuniary interest register. I mentioned this before. So this is quite a recent addition. I think when we do it next year, that'll be the third time. So I think it was 2022 it came in. So under section 3.28, that lists the type of things you'll be asked to declare. It will apply, even for the new members, it will apply to all of this year, even before you became a member. So we'll be really explicit with the dates that it applies to in my email to you. And if you do have any questions when you're going through that form, feel free to either ask your mentor or reach out to me and we can discuss it.
Any questions on that one? As someone said recently, we are public property.
Cool. Next one is the Public Records Act. So we'll go over this in more detail at a future workshop. But the essence of it is that everything on all of your official work information is a public record in a similar way to the fact that it's legoimable. It also needs to be retained. So by virtue of having it on your devices, you are retaining it. Yeah, we'll go through over some more specificities in the future, but are there any questions around that for now? Good. And then the next one is the Contract and Commercial Law Act, and the key bit with that, it's very similar to record keeping, is that we now don't need to keep hard copies. So that's been in place for about 8 years. Electronic copies now suffice. A good example of that is minutes. So we used to have to print off all of the minutes and keep them in our vault. We no longer need to do that. Privacy Act 2020. This is really around, I mean, it obviously does apply to you, but around our customers. So like every other public organisation and private organisation, we are subject to the Privacy Act. Individuals need to know when their information is being collected and what it's being used for. We can't unduly use the information for other purposes, for purposes beyond what a customer might have believed it was going to be used for. That's not always crystal clear, but Frances is our privacy officer. If you have any questions around privacy, I would ask her. It is something for you to be mindful of as you're talking to constituents, is just be mindful of their privacy. Obviously, if they've given you a query, you can pass it on to council. And we'll release some guidance on that shortly around the best way that you can do that, the best mechanisms to do that, whether it's email or our Anteno app. But just be mindful when you're talking to other constituents, for example, not to sort of, be sharing private information.
I think that's probably when it comes up, more likely to come up is when someone approaches you about somebody else, and then we're getting into perhaps a danger area. And I think there's some words, I'm not sure if it's in the report or something I read recently about curiosity is not a good reason for going looking for information.
Right.
Questions there?
Okay. Next one is the Health and Safety at Work Act. Now, our Safety and Wellbeing Advisor will come to a much fuller brief on this act. So as governors, similar to the chief executive, you are classed as an officer under the Act, which means that you have some responsibility to oversee the health and safety of council employees, council elected members, and the public. So that's just something to bear in mind. There can be liability in extreme cases. This all kind of came out of the Pike River incident, where they changed the legislation to add more responsibility to governance. So like I said, Andrew Layton will go over that in a lot more detail, but I'm happy to answer any questions or defer any questions to Francis.
It's also worth adding that as elected members, there's a specific part of the legislation that exempts you from the liability of failing to meet the due diligence requirements, which are set out in 3.43. Our view is that even though you are specifically exempt from the liability around that, it doesn't preclude your obligations under that section. So we do take those seriously. And we announced that Councillor Joindon is taking up the role as the Health and Safety Governance Champion.
And the buck stops with the chief executive. You go to jail, don't you?
I can do.
Yeah.
I'm not really keen on that, to be fair. Take it really seriously. So we have a very good in-house health and safety committee, of which Councillor can be part of. And we actually have set quite high standards nationally at the governance space around health and safety. We, not too many years ago, won an award for the way that we work with the governance team and include them in our health and safety protocols and conversations. So it's something we really take seriously as an organisation. Because I don't really want to go to jail. It's not on my plans.
I see it as part of our role to protect Shane from going to jail. So we all have to work together on this one rather than just sort of, you know, I'm okay, Jack. Don't care about him. So it's a combined effort. You might just like to run through a couple of things that we do in terms of audit and risk or finance and performance, and just how we do take it seriously.
Sure. So one of your due diligence requirements is to keep yourself up to date about work health and safety matters, and in particular to gain an understanding of the nature of the operations of the business, the undertaking of council as the PCBU. In order to facilitate that, we choose a team or service of council once a quarter in line with the finance and performance meeting. And ahead of that meeting, we invite you all to come and do a site visit to hear from the managers, to meet the staff of that service, to get a really on the ground understanding of what they do and particularly what challenges they face from a health and safety perspective. It also, we try very hard to give you the opportunity to talk directly to the staff. So we do little walkarounds and things so that you can assure yourselves without managers kind of overseeing the whole thing about the workers themselves and their perspective. Following that deep dive at every finance and performance, we run through the top risk that service faces in a structured format, so using our risk matrix, and Andrew, our safety and wellbeing advisor, presents. And we'll also note to you kind of anything that's going well, but also what's in progress, any of the issues that have come to light and things that we're working on in that space. And then there's the quarterly health and safety report, which is an overview around health and safety across the organisation and progress towards our health and safety strategy.
Right, questions?
I might also take the opportunity of thanking Councillor Headfield for his time in the governance role around the space. Your contributions have been deeply appreciated.
Francis? Right.
And that's the last one. So if we can move a recommendation noting that we've gone through that process.
Right, would someone like to move Councillor Short?
I move that the council receives the general explanation of laws affecting elected members.
Thank you. We have a seconder. Councillor Kilby. Any discussion? All those in favour, please raise your hand. Contrary. Motion is passed. Thank you. Now, just to give you an outline of what happens next, we're now going to go into public excluded, and then we'll adjourn the council meeting till tomorrow morning to deal with the final matter on the agenda, which is the adoption of the annual plan. But after we've gone into public excluded, we'll bring forward some of our workshop items, make some progress on some of those this morning. So with that, I shall move the public be excluded from the following parts of the proceedings of this meeting, namely 1, sale of council land at 79 South Street, Fielding. Thank you to our visitors for coming and your interest. That the general subject of each matter to be considered while the public is excluded, the reason for passing this resolution in relation to each matter on grounds under section 48(1), Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, passing of which resolution are as follows. And number 2, 1, commercial negotiations. This report discusses the potential purchase price for land, and the grounds are under section 48(1)(a). Resolution is made in reliance on section 48(1) of the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 and the particular interests protected by section 6 or 7 of the Act, which would be prejudiced by the holding of the whole or the relevant part of the proceedings of the meeting in public as specified above. Do I have a second, please? Councillor Hadfield. Any discussion? Those in favour, please raise your hand. Contrary, motion is carried.